Welcome in, Big Ten backers. We got another big ass show coming your way. What's going on with you, Beve? How was the weekend?
It was good, man. I hear yours was a little rough, though. Our
A
morning
little
show
rough,
got
man.
turned into an evening show. What's up, man?
Yeah, I've had a little going away party, got a little sauced up, and then, of course, the internet was acting a little off this morning, too. So it's been a weekend.
Yes, sir. Hey, you got to up it up in that internet game, man. That Walmart internet's not going to do it for you no more.
I'm going to be stealing from Taco Bell. What you talking about? I don't even have to have Taco Bell. I'll have to figure that out.
Going overseas, my man. One more week, right?
Yeah, one more week. Leave weekend one day. Then I'm heading out.
Oh, man. I'm going to miss you, brother. Especially if I start doing some road trips.
I know, man. Those road trips last year was epic, man. Epic. Speaking of those road trips, let's show these Big Ten backers again what we are all about.
Let's do it.
Let's go, let's go. Purdue sucks. But so does Michigan and Ohio State. Go
Love you, man. I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world.
Who taught you how to fight? Who taught you how to be a warrior?
I hate playing against these guys. I hate playing them.
Like, you're making me uncomfortable. Like, I don't.
You better get me right now.
They're fighting for clicks, we're fighting for wins. Right? This game ain't gonna be played in Hollywood.
We're in LA. It's us and USC.
We are at the top of the Big Ten Conference. I mean, we're at the top of any conference. I don't ever look at ourselves below anybody. We are
best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Sure you get some of that NIL money that he's sharing with Dan Lanning, but sure you get...
There's some things going on that aren't right as well, so we'll talk about how to handle it.
Really, 2 or 3 beers or 4. I've probably done that 1,000 times in my life.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Love you, man.
Two, 3, or 4, 5, 10 whiskeys is kind of how it went down last night.
That's about right. Man, Mike Gundy never gets old.
Luckily, I just had to walk across the street. I didn't have to pull an ollie and see the sirens.
Go ahead and jump in that car. Hey, man, we would just give you more airtime. That's what you're good at. We're going to put you on air.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. Anyways, great show for you. We're going to break down kind of the playoffs. We're going to talk about Big Ten teams and kind of where they stack in this playoff race. And we're going to get a little Heisman action and prediction for you. But let's get into the show. Beve, you ready?
I'm ready for this. Let's do it up.
Let's do it, man. All right, so here's our playoff bracket prediction. Beve, you want to go first?
I'll go first. Yeah. All right. So I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I have them losing in Eugene to Oregon. What's really going to be weird about this is what breaks down for the losses and the tiebreakers. Because if they have that one loss, who's Oregon they're going to lose to? Are they going to go undefeated in the Big Ten? Probably. Right? I don't think there's another team that Oregon's going to lose to. They're just dynamic. They're set up everywhere across the board. The offensive line, Dylan Gabriel is going to go off, right? And it just looks like he had 3,000 yards the last 3 years. Why not 3,000 yards again or even more? I mean, with the receivers he's got, Tez Bryant, he's electric, man. Evan Stewart, they got them all. They got all the bits and pieces everywhere. So I got Ohio State winning that in the championship game. Once they come to Indy, in December, it's going to be a little cold, a little bitter. It's a long road trip. Ohio State's just right down I-70, so they've been there before. They've done that. And I think Ohio State's going to know what to do. By the time they get Will Howard a little bit of gelling with that offensive line and really know who they are, it sounds like that offensive line's coming together now, and it's coming together quick. And Howard is the man. I mean, they named him. Day was like, he's got complete control of this offense, and he said it multiple times even before he named him as a starter. So Ohio State's taking it. I wasn't so high on him. Man, I was like all Oregon. We've been talking about it all offseason. I was all on Oregon as jock, man. I was a Duck fan. All right, like halfway a Duck fan,
So now you're fully huss for them Buckeyes, huh?
I'm fully huss for the Buckeyes, man. I'm ready to go. The season's about here, man. It's coming real quick.
Got your nuts all swollen for them.
My nuts are ready to go, man. Last year I had to cut them off, and I predicted Michigan to win it, and they did. So I'll give myself credit there. But so what do you got for the Big Ten?
Big Ten, man. I think the same thing. I think Oregon beats Ohio State regular season in Austin. Like, I don't think Ohio State's ready for that trip, but I think when they return, and I think they do return and play each other in Indy, and I think that's where Ohio State will take advantage and actually win the Big Ten. If you see my playoff graphic, you see them as the second-ranked team in the playoffs.
All right,
but,
so we're
same, man. Like,
stop there.
Yeah, we're locked in. We both locked in on that one, but everything you said about Ohio State, everything you said about Oregon, I still think the biggest difference between Oregon and Ohio State is going to be Dylan Gabriel.
But especially in the beginning.
Yeah, especially in the beginning and at home. Like when you don't, unless you're Washington, you don't roll up in the Austin or Utah. Never mind, you don't just roll up in the Austin Stadium and beat them. But I have to pick on them a little bit.
Yeah,
but that's how I see the Big Ten shaking out, man. I think there's some outside shots for a couple other teams. I don't think Penn State's out of the question. I don't think Michigan's out of the question. But to me, it's Oregon and Ohio State are the top two. And until I see something on the field during this season, I ain't changing that.
For sure. Yeah, and that can always change. Obviously, this is just our prediction, right? It's going to change on the field. There's going to be some of these that aren't even close. But
yeah, I mean, injuries are part of the game too. So
sure.
You were just talking about Oregon's offensive line and how great they were. They just lost a guy in camp that he's going to miss a big portion of the early part of the season. Now they're saying he's going to be back. But their right tackle went down in camp. So
that's the first I heard of that. Did that happen today?
Yep.
All right, my man. You want to switch over to the SEC then?
Yeah, let's talk about them Southern boys, man. They play ball. There's so many teams that I think have a chance to make the playoffs out of the South. It's just insane. But to me, Georgia, man, I think Georgia is going to. I don't think they're going to run the gauntlet in the SEC. I think they'll definitely have a loss somewhere. I think they play Ole Miss in the SEC championship game, and they get Ole Miss. But I think you're going to get probably four teams out of the South in the playoffs. Easy.
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there's going to be 3 or 4 from the Big Ten or the SEC. One of them is going to get 4. The other is going to get 3, in my opinion. Our model did not disappoint last year, ranking Michigan number 1. I went with our model last year. I'm going with our model again. And Georgia fans are going to love this model, baby, because Georgia's number 1 in the model.
Yeah.
And
no doubt, man. That offensive line, Carson Beck, dude, they're going to be dangerous, man.
And Carson Beck didn't get enough love last year, man. He was out of this world. But an astute philosopher once said, if you're not first, you're last. So even though they play at Ole Miss, at Texas, at Bama, I only see them losing one of those. And that means 2 of those 3 are going to have 1 loss at least. So Georgia gets in. They'll probably play one of those teams again, and they're going to win the next time around.
Yeah, I got Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, and Alabama making it into the playoff from the SEC. But I think there's
who you got going to the SEC championship game against Georgia.
I said Ole Miss, and Georgia beats them.
Oh, you got Ole Miss, yeah.
How about
I was originally going to go with Texas because of that running game, and they lost depth there. That defensive line, it's going to be hard to replace Sweat. They're saying that they can, but I just don't see him replacing that man. He was a beast.
Yeah, them losing 2 running backs, dude, and only having 1 scholarship running back on roster and playing the gauntlet of the toughest conference in college football, man, it makes me.
And
a little
CJ Baxter was a stud too. I mean,
but on the plus, man, Ewers might end up having a crazy Heisman stat season because he's going to have to carry that offense, man.
But I've changed my mind about Bama after everything I'm hearing out of camp. Milroe is balling out in the new system. DeBoer is doing what he does. It's like a 40-year-old virgin's right hand, just rinse and repeat in the SEC title game.
Yeah, Kalen, I don't think people understand this dude's going to be a monster.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to be a monster.
He's won everywhere he's been. His win percentage is amazing. I mean, you go out to Fresno State, you take over. You go out to
Bama, dude. It's
Washington,
Bama.
You take over. Now you're at Bama with all the facilities, all the recruits, all the pride, all the money, man. It's just on fire. And their following on social media is ridiculous. I didn't know they outpaced Ohio State that well. They have 1 million and some followers on Twitter, 1 million and some followers on Facebook, and Ohio State's got a few 100,000 on each of those. So I know the viewership doesn't really add up to that, but I think a lot of people follow Bama because of all those national titles. Whatever's popular at the time, people are going to follow that on the socials.
Oh, no doubt, man. I mean, they had the best run any team has ever had. I mean, Nick Saban
Absolutely.
pretty much ran college football for 20 years. Like, insane, man.
They changed the definition of dynasty, didn't they?
I don't know what you call that, but dynasty isn't good enough.
We're just rewriting every book there is about college football.
Yeah, that was more than a dynasty. A dynasty is maybe you win 3 in 5 years.
Yeah,
you don't do what they did. That's way more than a dynasty.
For sure. I'm with you.
Who do you want to talk about next, man? You want to go ACC? You want to go Big 12?
Let's go Big 12, man. I want to talk Big 12 football.
All right, who do you got? Who you got winning
Actually,
it, man?
I mean, mine's a little different than most, but again, I am trusting in the model, baby. Give me those Oklahoma State Cowboys, 85% returning production, 21 of 22 starters returning, a Heisman candidate at running back, Ollie Gordon. We're going to pick those later, so stay tuned for that. I mean, some people just don't like the name. Like, they don't like that name. They don't like that Mike Gundy name. They just don't, it's just not the popular name. So do some research, figure out what they got. They got Alan Bowman back, and he was at the tree.
I think he's one of the bigger names in football. Maybe not for winning, but his
Ollie Gordon, yeah. Oh, you mean, yeah. All right. You're talking Coach
Gundy.
Coach Gundy. Yeah, they have a quarterback returning, and he was around for the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. Alan Bowman. He's in his 7th year, 2nd year as a Cowboy. He led the Big 12 in passing yards with 286 per game, and he didn't even play that much in the first 3 games. Ended up with 3,460 yards passing. Dude, give me the Cowboys. Go place that bet right now. It's worth taking.
Yeah, no doubt. You looks like big difference between your playoff and mine is you have 2 teams from the Big 12 in. I only have 1. So tell me how you get 2 teams out of the Big 12 in. I think that's interesting.
That might really be a personal
preference.
Baby. Yeah. Did you see what he said? He said Georgia Revenge Tour starting now. Yeah, and Milrow's gonna take his.
It started as soon as they got knocked out of the playoffs last year. They are ready, man.
Oh,
Locked
yeah,
and loaded.
You better believe it. They're gonna come with it.
Milrow takes massive steps, man.
Oh yeah, Georgia's racing to start this season, literally.
And that when Saban was coaching, it was Bama's world, and we were just living it. No doubt, man. Like,
for sure,
absolutely. You'll never see that again, man. You'll never see another Nick Saban run ever.
Ain't happening. Watch out for Gundy. He's going to go on that run. No, it's just this year. Just this year.
He's going to go on that. I don't think
anything's happening after that.
But yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I think it's more of a personal preference, and I can't keep my personal preference out of it. I think that there needs to be more conference love because it's hard to really decipher which conference is the best until they play each other. So I'd rather more conference representation, and then we'll go from there. Like, that's why you have 12 teams. We want more teams in. I want to see more football. I want to see more variety. And you still have the dominant factor. Like, if you're getting 4 teams in from one of the best conferences in the SEC and 3 teams in from the Big 12, that's fine. That's plenty. Let's see what the other conferences got, man. I want to see football, and I want to see it from all angles, from all regions. I mean, we're getting all regions in the Big 10 now, so I guess that doesn't matter other than the South, which should change relatively rapidly. But Virginia Tech's going to be a team, and they are going to play against, I just switched to the ACC. Never mind. Utah. You talked about Utah. You have Utah picked. Cam Rising's back. Their coach is a man, and it might be his last season. So they've already named a coach in waiting.
Yeah, I think you're only going to get 1 team out of the Big 12. I think they're going to hard to get 2 teams just because I think there's so much parity, man. Like, there's so many teams are on the same talent level that I think a lot of them are going to knock each other out. I think trusting Kyle Whittingham, dude, is a freaking – he's no soft-ass Ryan Day, man. This dude is a real man.
Oh, like, you got to go there? Come on, man.
He's a real man. Like, this dude is tough as nails, man. Like,
we got Chip Kelly coming in to show
got that
hard.
Square jaw, man. Ain't nothing soft about him. He probably sleeps on rocks, man.
I bet he does. I wouldn't be surprised.
But yeah, I mean, what's not to love about Utah? Tough team. I think the Big 12 teams, when they travel out to Utah, are going to be super surprised about that environment.
Oh, yeah.
Some people sleep on some of these old Pac-12 teams. and kind of what Saturday looks like there, because no one ventures out there or watches them because they play so late or whatever the case may be. But Utah, that stadium is rocking on Saturdays, man. I think they're going to shock some people. Cam Rising, like he should be back. He should be super healthy. I think obviously with him being, he was running.
Knock some rust off, man.
Like that dude's going to be a monster, delivering the ball. Utah's defense, I think they're the best, well-rounded team out of there. But man, I don't know. Like there's so many teams who can win it. Like you got Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas. I mean, I think they're maybe even outside shot Colorado does. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're actually going to have a rough year. But if somehow their defense figures it out and Shedeur just goes crazy and the offensive line can protect them a little bit, I think that's how much parity there is there. I don't think there's UCF is another team that could kind of make a run in the Big 12. It's just a wild.
I had Iowa State for a little while. I plugged Iowa State in for Utah, and then I switched it at the last minute. I was like, you know what, Utah will probably do it. I can't go with all my outliers and get them into the playoff, so I got the two of them. But I'm high on Oklahoma State. I already put a bet on Oklahoma State to go over their win percentage, and I'm riding it. I'm riding it till the end, man. Iowa State. I'm a Cowboy. I'm a Buckeye, but secondary Cowboy.
I think Utah plays Oklahoma State in the conference championship game, but Kyle Whittingham gets it done, baby.
Not even close, man. They were in the championship game last year. They went 10-4 last year. They're going to come back. They're going to repeat. Ollie Gordon's going to go off on your ass, and I'm going to make fun of you when it happens.
I'll just repeat Kyle. What you think about that, Kyle?
All right. Now,
last year was the weakest Bama team despite having a winning record. But this year they returned to the same Bama we love to hate. No doubt about it, man. Like they're never going anywhere. They're always going to be around.
Having a young quarterback's hard, and that's what we said in the beginning of the season. It was hard to rate Georgia number one with having a quarterback that you didn't know of. It was hard to rate Bama number one with having a quarterback that you didn't know of. So we had Michigan, or at least I had Michigan number one. Who did you have number one to start the season last year? Did you have Georgia?
Yeah, I had Georgia.
Yeah. And then this year, no one's calling for that. Hey, until they're beat, they need to be number one. No one's saying Michigan should be number one right now. I don't get it. Last year, it had to be Georgia. Everyone was pissed off if you didn't have Georgia number one.
Yeah, No Mercy Sports says most Colorado fans are more delusional than Dallas fans. That's probably true. I feel like there were so many fans who weren't familiar with college football and then just came in and just bought into the hype of beating TCU, which was massively overrated at the beginning of the year. Last year.
Even major media outlets were hyping it like crazy. I mean, that was
they're all over it
in the spotlight. What was Fox out there 3 weekends in a row?
Yeah, it was like insane, man, insane. But yeah, go check out No Mercy Sports, man. Those guys are awesome. We have a nice little fun talk with those guys all the time, especially when they're on Villains. But No Mercy too, man. Good shows.
Little love-hate relationships. You said you were going to wear glasses.
I should have wear some glasses just to pick on my man.
That's right. All right. Hey, man. Yo.
What up, man?
He hasn't been here for a while.
He's been here. He's just under his podcast name, but he's back to his name here. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. Switched it out on us.
He did. All right, let's go. Let's go ACC, man. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I already started to get into it, so give me Virginia Tech to be in the championship game. Kyron Drones, baby. He is one that you're going to have to watch out for. They lost their 4 games to begin the year, including one to Rutgers, then won 5 out of their last 7. Kyron Drones is dynamic. Along with their 84% returning production, Drones had 2,000 yards passing, 800 yards rushing, 17 TDs, and 5 TDs rushing, too. I mean, he's dynamic. And Brent Pry, he has his dick in a glory hole, and he's going to be pleasantly surprised with what he finds on the other end because they're going to be in the championship game.
I think Virginia Tech's going to make some splashes, and I think they're really going to they're going to have some upsets. They're going to scare some people, but I don't think they have enough to get it done to make it into the playoffs. For me, give me Clemson and give me Miami. I think Miami is the conference winner. I think they play Clemson. I mean,
man, after all the shit you gave
Cristobal is recruiting like crazy. If he can just learn how if he can just take a knee, I'm telling you, man, the Canes are in the playoffs. Cristobal just
his wife's still pissed about that.
She is.
You stood up and proposed.
Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, the Canes got everything. They got 68% returning production, all the talent in the world. Can Cam Ward hold on to his balls, man? He had
Ward,
a habit.
I feel like there's a lot of hype around Cam Ward, and you're bringing that up. Like, he is a turnover machine. He has to get that under control. Like, everybody's like, oh, my God, Cam Ward's the best quarterback in the portal. And I'm like,
yeah.
Is he
not so fast, my friends. Not so fast.
Like, he's up there. I'm not saying he's bad, but
yeah,
he's really dynamic. But he also has the ability.
You know what burnt you last year?
Over like crazy.
What burnt you last year was that Sims transfer to Nebraska. You were all about Sims, man. He's going to go everywhere. And then he just turned the ball over. Now you're looking at turnovers, man. Now you're looking at turnovers of those quarterbacks because he had 12 fumbles, 8 of them lost.
That's not even counting his INTs, man. The guy, he can't hold on to the ball. I mean, he's dynamic, but it's 7
interceptions. So it wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible. 7 interceptions. I mean,
the fumbles are unreal, though.
Yeah, 12 fumbles.
When you put those two together,
yeah, for sure, decent amount of turnovers. If Virginia Tech doesn't make it to the championship game, it's going to be because of their D-line. They got a lot of guys coming in from the transfer portal. They lost, I think, 5 guys to either graduation or the NFL. So it was a portal plug there, and hopefully they got players that plug and play.
You love to talk about plugs, don't you?
Depending on... Yes, I do. I love to talk about plugs.
All right, man. I guess the last one is the group of 5, man.
The group of 5, well, I got Boise State. You're going to see it real quick when they play in Eugene against one of our playoff partners in Oregon. It's going to be fun to see how they hang with them. Obviously, Liberty couldn't do it last year, so can this other group of 5 at least make it a game?
So I think that game is actually what gets them out of it. I think they're going to go to Eugene, and I think Autzen Stadium and the Ducks, and they're going to be roaring, man, and I should be quacking, I should say. And I think
they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to handle that green turf, huh?
You're going to absolutely not handle that green turf, and they're going to get destroyed by Oregon. And I think it's going to be so ugly that even if that's the only loss they have, it's going to keep them out of the playoffs. I think there's so many other teams like Memphis, Liberty, you name it. There's going to be so many of these other Group 5 teams that are going to have one loss, and I think they're going to hold that against them because it's like you already had a chance to prove it, man.
Yeah, but they play members of the Pac-Dun Conference, the 2 members left, and they got them both at home, so they don't go to the Palouse. They have Washington State at home on the blue turf. They end the season,
Smurf turf, baby. The Smurf turf.
They end the season with Oregon State at home, too. So they got 2 of them, and they still have, that's still like power, what is now power 4 talent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, besides Oregon State lost everything to Michigan State, who knows?
To me, it's Memphis, man. Memphis comes in 70% returning production. They have a really schedule that I think they'll beat most of those teams. The biggest one is going to be Florida State. Now, I think they will surprise Florida State. I think Florida State's going to be a little bit more down than people think. So I think that game could be closer than the experts think. And then also you're playing University of Texas San Antonio, which is going to be a good team. You're going to play a chance to play and beat Tulane, which is going to be another good team. I think
Tulane's going to be dog shit this year.
I think there's going to be some games on there that could be a little resume kicker when it comes to picking out the best team of the group of 5.
Yeah. Who was it that?
And South Florida too. South Florida is going to be a damn good team this year too. And if Memphis can actually run the table in their conference, they're going to have some padded.
Was stats. It Malachi Nelson that went to Boise State, transferred from USC, I believe? 5-star quarterback. Yep. I mean, that's insane for a group of 5 getting a 5-star transfer there. So maybe he's going to show out, ball out, and hopefully he got some major NIL from Boise. I don't know what kind of companies they got in Boise, but someone better have been giving him some money.
Money, money, money.
I'm still going with Boise State. Even if they get smashed.
Go ahead, go over your bracket for everybody on the podcast side so they can know who we have in.
All right, so I got the 4 winning their conference. I got Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I got Miami winning the ACC. I got Oklahoma State winning the Big 12. And I got Georgia winning the SEC. So in that same bracket against Georgia in the first round, it's going to be Iowa, which a lot of people won't agree with, but we can go into that in a little bit, versus Virginia Tech. I got Iowa inching out that one. I got Iowa, or our model had Iowa ranked 8 in the nation. So it'll be Iowa against Georgia in the second round.
Oh, you're going too far, man. You're going too far. You're just supposed to say who's in the bracket.
I'm just going into it. Fuck it, man. Let's go. All right. Then I got Boise State.
Omaha.
Yeah, reroute. Orange Barrel. All right. I got Boise State against Oregon on the other side. So the winner of that is going to be Oregon, and they're playing Oklahoma State. So switch on over to the other side of the bracket. Ohio State side, you got Utah against Bama. I got Bama winning that. And then below that, Miami side, you got Texas versus Ole Miss. And man, that's going to be a good game. I don't even know who I got winning that yet. I think I'm going to go with Ole Miss. So right now, I will go back over to the other side. I got Iowa versus Georgia. Georgia wins it. I got Oregon versus Oklahoma State. I got Oregon winning that. And then I got Miami versus Ole Miss. I'm going to have to go with Ole Miss on that. And then I got Ohio State versus Bama, and I got Ohio State winning that. So I got my Final Four set. You want to get down to your Final Four, and we'll wait till the end to pick it?
Yeah, that works for me. So first round, I'm going to have Clemson versus Iowa. Kind of very similar there. ACC team versus Iowa. I think Clemson is going to beat Iowa. And then also in the first round, I got Oregon playing Memphis. I think Oregon will absolutely destroy Memphis. On the other side, for their first round, I got Alabama versus Notre Dame. Talk about a game that is going to get a bunch of fans in, but I don't think Notre Dame is ready for Bama. Still, even without Saban, Notre Dame's not ready for Bama. Bama gets it done, and they move on. And then you have an SEC matchup with Texas and Ole Miss. Originally, I might have picked Texas, but I think with the running back depth that we talked about, it's got me a little bit flaky on Texas, and Ole Miss is absolutely loaded. Lane Kiffin.
Join that lane train, baby. You're on it.
The lane train is running, boy. They're putting all kinds of money in that. They know could be a special season for him, and they did not hold back when it came to funding and money and getting transfers in because they know this is a special team and Ole Miss standards. Ole Miss beats Texas, and then
hotty toddy, baby.
Hotty toddy. And then, when you got Georgia and Clemson, I think you're going to get a rematch of an ugly game that's going to be the opening. And Georgia's going to just open a can of whoop ass on them again. When Oregon plays Miami, which is going to be a fun one, there's going to be a lot of Duck fans that are going to be super intrigued about this game because Cristobal.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So I think that would be a awesome matchup. And I think Oregon, I think Miami keeps it close early, but then Oregon pulls a comfortable win out late. So I think you're going to get Oregon versus Georgia. And then you're going to have Ole Miss play Utah. And I think Utah is the king of the Big 12, but they are not remotely ready for the playoff run. So I think Ole Miss takes care of Utah. And then talk about another TV setting matchup, Bama and Ohio State. Oh, yeah. Man, that game is going to be so tough. But I think Ohio State's defense, with all the returning production they have on that side of the ball, I think that one is going to go Buckeyes way. And then so my Final Four would be Ohio State versus Ole Miss, and then Georgia versus Oregon.
And I got Ole Miss against Ohio State, and I got Georgia versus Oregon. So we're lock stop there, man. My top 4 for Colin is Georgia, Penn State. He's high on Penn State, Kansas State, and Louisville. Yeah, and my group of 5 is Memphis. He's with you on Memphis. All right.
Yeah, I think they could definitely get it done. I don't see how Louisville beats out all those teams. Penn State definitely has a shot, man. They have a really manageable schedule in the Big Ten. They're returning one of the few Big Ten teams returning a starting quarterback that was familiar with that team. So that's going to be interesting. And then Georgia's fucking Georgia. The dogs are going to dog, boy.
Trust in Brian Brum. And by the way, did you see Chomp Robinson just blow through that line? Holy shit. You got to go back and watch some film on that from last night if you didn't already see it.
Yeah, nasty. That's what I'm saying.
Penn State, 4.55.
Man, no joke.
Dude, the lineman didn't even see him, didn't even notice he blew past him, man. It was just like the center was just like, it was just too much speed for him.
I think that third spot, if the Big Ten puts 3 teams in, it's going to be between Iowa and Penn State.
For sure, yeah.
And they both have
really going to Penn State.
They both have really manageable schedules, so it's going to be like, yo. Coin flip, man.
Yes, sir. All right.
All right. Break down your Final Four, man. I've been talking. I've been going.
We did. I mean, our Final Four is the same.
No, like,
so
no, like
we're gonna go. We're gonna go for winners. All right.
Or do you want to wait? Do you want to wait?
Let's wait for the end. Let's do that at the end.
All right, cool.
Save some suspense, man.
All right, let's pay some bills, man. We got to keep the lights on, man.
Let's go.
All right, let's get a little commercial going. Big Ten backers will be back in a minute or two, man. Let's get a little
with Heisman's with our Final Four and who's going to win the national title.
Let's do it, man. Let's do
Let's
it.
Go.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Gano seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe,
hey.
We all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better. Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Yum, yum, get you some. Let's get spicy with our Heisman predictions. This is mine, man. I'm going Carson Beck. You see his numbers he put up last year. You've seen the TDs that he had. You're going to see a Georgia quarterback for the first time in a long time be the reason why they win games. Their defense is still going to be stout, but there's some questions on that defensive line. But this man is way better than people realize. His offensive line is absolutely outstanding. They'll be a Joe Moore candidate for the best offensive line in the country, and he is going to have Heisman moment after Heisman moment after Heisman moment because the SEC is so stacked and the Georgia schedule is stacked as well. This dude, to me, is this year Heisman winner. Carson Beck.
Bringing it. Hey, man, we got to read those stats for the people listening via
3,941 yards, 24 TDs to 6 interceptions with a 72.4% completion ratio. And it's only going to get better.
As a first-year starter in the SEC. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's bringing it. That is bringing it. Hey, man, I'm with you on there. That's a great pick. He's one of the leaders on the board, though. I'm going to go with someone a little lower on the board, but should be right there with everyone else. I talked about it before. I'm a cowboy at heart, man. Just give me that hat now. Give me the boots and a belt buckle because the 2023 Doak Walker Award winner had 1,732 yards and 21 touchdowns. He's got almost the entire line coming back. 4 out of 5 starters are back. They're going to be blocking for him. He's not going to be drinking any more beers, but he's going to be carrying it 50 times a game, according to his coach. And if he does drink a beer and he gets in a car, his coach don't give a shit because he's making money. So
I mean, if you're going to be a dominant running back, you're going to have a little dog in you, and if you have a little dog in you, you're going to be a little crazy. And sometimes, you got to have those 4 or 5 party beers and hit the road, man.
Yeah, shower beers, man. It's a thing.
I've never had a shower beer.
What?
Never had a shower beer, man.
I've had shower beer since I was like 17.
I've had a pre-shower shot, but I never had a shower beer. But I'm not much of a beer drinker. I'm a whiskey guy. If you see me drinking a beer, it's just because I'm usually eating food. I don't like mixing whiskey.
Because you have to.
Yeah, because I have to.
They don't have whiskey, so.
Yeah, like they sell beer, but they don't sell whiskey. Then you'll see me drink a beer.
It's usually Schlitz gay, right?
Absolutely not. I go with King Ding-a-ling Yingling.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good beer. Minus the first part. Speaking of butt plugs, let's go.
All right. Let's get into the Big Ten time, man. So we're the Big Ten backers, so we got to talk Big Ten. Mm-hmm. So this is to us kind of how we see the Big Ten playing out in the playoff picture. Obviously, there's a lot more to the Big Ten and a lot more teams, but we're kind of focused on some of the teams that we think are either going to be locked into the playoff, might get in, probably wouldn't get in, and then there's really an outside chance. And you can kind of see the graphic, but our locks are Oregon and Ohio State are likely.
And we've talked about Oregon and Ohio State enough, right? They have everything. I mean, they're all world in recruiting, all world in the transfer portal, all world in returning players coming back. They got good returning production. They got great coaches. I don't know what else there is, man. They got good environments. They got good fan base. And we're just going to see what they do on the field. They're probably going to end up playing each other twice. So does Oregon have that moment where they lose twice to that one major team in the conference? Because that would be a real barn burner, man. It would bust their balls bad. I mean, that would hurt.
Yeah, it would be like that's the only way I think Oregon is an out if they're 10-2, man. If they're 10-2 and they lose their two big games in conference, then I think that's the only way they could be out. And you could probably say the same thing for.
Do you have their schedule still? Let's put that up because I got it.
You did have it.
I don't. Oh, there we go. Took it away. I got it and took it back. So they got Boise State, they got Oklahoma State, they got at UCLA, then they got the Ohio State game. That's what matters. But really, after that, they play at Michigan. That's going to be the one. I think that if they get a Michigan
that could be the
win,
problem because if they lose to Ohio State and Michigan, which I don't think they will, but if they did, there's not enough meat on the schedule at 10-2 for them to be a lock for the playoff.
For sure. But the Michigan, if they win that Michigan game, they might have 2 losses to Ohio State. If they beat Ohio State once, they're in, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But they could possibly have 2 losses to Ohio State, and maybe that's out.
Maybe.
I doubt it. I doubt it with the Michigan win, though.
Yeah, I doubt it with the Michigan win, too. And obviously, Michigan would have to play some decent ball. Like, there's a lot of question marks on the offense. But I think defensive-wise, they're going to win almost every game on their schedule, too. So,
and they'd have to hope for Wisconsin to be kind of good, too, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could say the same thing about Ohio State. Like, they have a little bit more meat on their schedule than Oregon does, just because they have Penn State, Oregon, and Michigan. So, like, they could have 2 losses and still have a win against a great Penn State team, a great Oregon team, or a great Michigan team, you name it. So I think it's like they'd have to lose all 3 of those for them to be out, in my opinion.
Ohio State would have to lose at Oregon, at Penn State, and at Michigan, or home against Michigan.
Yeah, for them to be out.
Yeah, and they got to count on Iowa to be good, just like Oregon has to count on the Badgers to be good. Your Badgers.
Yes. And that's if they lose 2 games, they would need them.
And I don't see either of those 2 losing 2 games. One's at the most.
Yeah. And that's why we got them as locks, man. I think that's
that's about right.
Andrew Anderson
12-0.
says 12-0. I'm assuming he's talking about the Ducks going 12-0. And I don't
No, he's talking about the Bucks, brother. Come on, man. Andrew knows what he's talking about. Yeah.
All right, clear that up for us. Clear that up for us, Andy. Come on. We probably shouldn't wait on him, huh?
No, we're not waiting on him. Let's go. He'll bring it.
All right, so those are our 2 locks. That's why we feel like they're going to win.
He's a Southern gentleman. He's a little slower to respond, right? He's got to think about it first.
But yeah, those are why our 2 locks. We don't see them losing any more than 1 game. If they do, if it's 2 games, you're still likely to get in even with two losses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, we're not saying all these teams are getting in. There's no way that even 5 teams of the Big Ten to me gets in. I think there's an outside shot for 4. Most likely they're going to get 3. So our next area is likely to make the playoffs, but could slip out. And I'm saying like one of these teams is that, and it would differ from one of these 3 teams. So I think Michigan, Iowa, and Penn State have the likely to get in, but they could slip out depending on how their schedule kind of plays out. And obviously,
let's go through Michigan first. I'll go ahead and pull up their schedules while we
Michigan goes through Columbus all the time, so we might as well.
Yeah, thanks. Eat a dick. All right, so Michigan's got a hell of a schedule. Unlike last year, even Fresno State is no joke to start the season, right? Texas, they got Texas next. I mean, that's going to be a huge game. We're going to know a little bit about both teams from that.
I think that's leaning a little bit more Michigan way now because now they have a shot to be one-dimensional. And I tell you what, that defense, if you're one-dimensional,
watch out. Yeah.
The Longhorns, man, they might be grilling some Longhorn steaks up in Ann Arbor, boy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I guess I'll be rooting for Michigan against Texas, but I don't want to, but I have to. I'm a conference guy. I'm going to go with the Big Ten. Then whatever USC is, I don't know yet. I think Minnesota is going to be good, but I think Michigan's going to get the win. So what are their other possible losses? That's Oregon. They're going to have to win one of the Oregon, Texas, Ohio States to get in. And they could possibly get in.
They have to win one of those and not lose any of the games they're supposed to win. But if they beat Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State, they're absolutely in at 10-2.
10-2, you think?
I'm saying if they go 10-2 and they beat either Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State, they're absolutely in the playoffs.
All right.
Okay, I think at 10-2 with that schedule, they're in.
All right. Period. And then your others that, could possibly get in, Iowa, right? Iowa's one of those, and Iowa's got a relatively easy schedule. That Iowa State game is going to be no joke, though. They're going to have to win that. The Ohio State game, most likely going to lose that, and then really, what else do they got?
I mean, they're going to be
After that-
favored. They're probably going to be favored in every game they play, except for when they play at Ohio State. So there's a damn good chance they go 11-1. Now, I think Nebraska's a surging team, and that could give them some problems. I think Wisconsin could give them some problems. And then, like you said, Iowa State, but they'll be favored in those 3 games. The only one that they're not going to be favored in is Ohio State. So I think they could literally be somewhere between 9-3 and 11-1. And I think if they're 10-2, this is why I picked them over. I think both of us picked them over Penn State. It's just their schedule is so manageable for the Big Ten. Like, it's just a manageable schedule. Unless
Nebraska goes off, and we're thinking anywhere from 6-6 to 10-2 for Nebraska, right?
Yeah, like they're kind of like Wisconsin, man. You got USC, you have USC, Wisconsin, and Nebraska, and I could see them anywhere between 6-6 and 10 wins, and it's just like because you don't know exactly who they are. There's a lot of promise there, but promise doesn't always work out. Ask Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
For sure.
We'll kind of see what those teams are made of.
And then Penn State was the other one, right?
Yeah.
Penn State has a relatively easy schedule too, so we'll bring Penn State in here. And starting off the season may be rough against that West Virginia team. They had a really great returning production. They got Ohio State at home. They got USC at USC, and I don't think that they have much after that. I mean, they do have that game against Wisconsin, so if Wisconsin ends up being better than we thought, or Minnesota ends up being as good as they could possibly be, then there's some rough schedules there. But
yeah, I think they have an overall rougher road schedule than Iowa. But Iowa has the best or the hardest game. But I think at Wisconsin, at Minnesota, at SC, like those are going to be maybe some tricky games if they're not locked in and ready. I mean,
and that's tough for Wisconsin or for Penn State too, because they have Washington as their whiteout game. Like, you want that for Ohio State. You want to make it as intimidating as possible for Ohio State, right? All those years that it was hard on Ohio State should have wiped the floor with them. But because of that environment, it made it a little harder, and Ohio State had to fight back, claw back.
Yeah. So I think one of those 3 teams is definitely in the playoffs. Now, which one? We went with Iowa, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Penn State. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Michigan.
Obviously, you can go with either of them. Like, all 3 of those. There's the possibility.
Penn State's probably the most well-rounded team of those 3, though. So even though I chose Iowa, I think Penn State's right there, neck and neck with them. And I think
there's a lot to like about Iowa, though. I mean, they have returning All-Americans. Jay Higgins is coming back. That entire defensive line and the defensive backfield's back. Phil Parker's going to have that defensive side.
We just got to see what Lester can do, right? Like, no doubt Iowa's defense can keep them in the game. Like, but look at the game last year against Penn State. Like, they didn't even put up a point, dude. Like, they have to have to figure out that offense. It doesn't matter how good that defense is. When you play teams like Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, like, if you cannot score, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. You might give up 17 points and lose, 14 points and lose, especially because all these teams have good defenses too. So,
but they got a quarterback back that was out. They were hurt with that injury problem, man. Cade McNamara's back. He won a Big Ten championship with Michigan before he transferred. Got injured. He's been out for 2
years. And they're tight ends
so.
too. They had some injuries.
Luke
Lachey's back, so I think that's going to be huge. For
Addison Straga. Yeah. I mean, they got a wealth of experience on the offensive line. Braden Sullivan is a backup quarterback that transferred from Northwestern. So, I mean, they got a lot of pieces in place. It's all about putting it together. LaShawn Williams, Caleb Johnson at running back. Come on, man.
And Michigan's in the same boat, right? Like, I think Donovan Edwards is obviously the Don. Like, that dude's he has flashes of greatness. Now, he has to play more consistently, but there's going to be a lot on his shoulders. Now, that defense, I don't care who they play, anybody on their schedule, their defense will keep them within striking distance of their offense if their offense is remotely productive. No,
we're hearing the offensive line's gelling well and playing great, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Michigan's
they keep reloading an offensive line, but they do have 4 combined starts coming back, which is like it's
scary.
It's a prove it to me at that time. Sure. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan is I mean, if they beat Texas, and we'll find out quick, if they beat Texas, they're probably a lock in for the playoffs. Outside of some upsets that happen.
Week 2, you got Texas, man.
Because they literally have a 3-game schedule, man. If you can beat Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State, just one of those 3, you're probably in the playoffs.
I mean, a 3-game schedule, but those are 3 pretty damn big teams, though, brother.
And then obviously you can't lose to somebody. But yeah, those are our likely. One of those is likely to get in the playoffs, but they could slip out.
Okay.
So the next category, unlikely to make the playoffs, but they could slip in. So if everything went right for these teams, they could make the playoffs. And we got Nebraska and SC. So talk to me about
kind of like your love life. You could slip in, possibly. You got to get really lucky. You got to take her out to dinner. You got to wine and dine her a little bit. You know, got to get her a little sauced up, and then maybe she'll give you a chance.
Yeah, these guys have to have a lot of game to slip it in. A lot
You
of
got to
game.
up it up, man. You got to bring some rose petals and everything. Get that hot tub boiling. Minnesota, man.
Nebraska SC, man. Nebraska SC.
Oh, we're going up there. All right, got it. We kind of already talked about that. Dylan Raiola. They're gonna have a great season. We're drinking the Roll-Aid. Let's be honest. We're high on Nebraska. I want to see what happens. Go Big Red. I'm a Nebraska fan too. Hey, man, I'm admitting it. I'm a Cowboy. I'm a Buckeye. I'm a Cornhusker. I'm fully husked, man. Matt Rule. Jalen Lloyd is going to have a breakout
Nebraska,
year.
man, and not fall in love with everything
sure.
that Nebraska is. Like, it's just one of the best places I've ever been for football. It's just, and you want to hate them.
They have 71% returning production, and Jalen Lloyd is going to have a breakout season. I heard he's just balling out, and he's changed his body. He's so much faster. He's a little bit bigger. If you didn't see him, go check out some highlights of Jalen Lloyd because he's going to ball out.
Yeah, I think obviously their biggest issue is going to be how well can they get the 5-star freshman to start balling out and then also not turn the ball over. Like, obviously, Nebraska's Achilles heel last couple years is turn over the ball and not winning close games. If they can figure out one of those two, they can make a splash this year.
Or just a little bit of both of them, really.
Yep.
And they do have Heinrich Harburg, the German back there, ready to go. The German tank, man. He could just run through anyone. Put him in for the short yardage. Get him, get some reprieve from the freshman, when his nerves are a little shaken or wherever, if they're on the road, put him in, get some short yardage runs, whatever you need. He'll get it done. He has that experience. Let him play. You thought he'll probably start for the season. You said that at the beginning, and maybe he does.
I think Matt Rule could maybe give him the tip of the hat, like, thanks, young man, for everything you did for us last year, and give him, the official start. But really, Raiola is the starter. I could see Matt Rule doing something like that, or it'd be a mix. Like, hey, man, like he can run, man. Like, he's a good inside the guard running threat. So you could bring him in for some running plays from the quarterback position, but you still have to respect the throwing game because he can throw the ball. So I think, there's some options there that they could use. Old Heinrich.
And before we talk about SC, we got to talk about that team across the city from them. We just had a special on them, and Deshaun Foster just had a video, had a reporter ask him about the team, and he was like, listen, I'm not a talker. I'm about football. And did you see that video?
I did, yeah.
He was just like, I want to show you on the field. I don't want to go on the field and lay an egg because all the talking's not going to matter. And I loved hearing that from him because if he's that focused that I don't care what I sound like to the media, I'm focused on football, you're going to see good things, even though their schedule is tough.
I like coaches with a little bit of spice to it, man. Like,
he's pissed off.
Like, to pick on your boy again, to pick on Soft Day again. Like, that guy, like, I feel like he's so typically 90% of the time. Obviously, he had his moment calling out your boy last year, Lou Holtz. But for the most part, man, he's just so, like, political whenever he's, like, talking about his team. And there's not a lot of fire passion. He just kind of stays, like, monotone. So when Deshaun Foster shows that little energy within him,
spice, let's go. Spice. He was like, I think there's 2 teams in LA. Basically, that's what he said. I'm paraphrasing here, that weren't rated to end the season last year, and only one of them is rated to start the season this year. So take it for what it's worth. We're going to show you on the field.
I always love the Bruins uniform, man.
Like, and they got that baby blue helmet coming. I just reposted that. It looks nice.
That's one of my favorite like,
USC.
visual
Let's get to USC.
When SC and they play, I love the visual of both of them wearing home jerseys.
Oh, yeah. Home jerseys are awesome. That would be nice for Ohio State and Michigan to do. I think that would be sweet. But it's never going to happen. No. So, let's get into that SC. Let's see what their defense is, man. We know they're going to come out on offense. We know it's Miller time. D'Anton Lynn, what's he going to do? Is his magic going to work in the first year? I don't know. Year one, they have some O-line depth concerns. And if they get one of their starters out, they're going to have to make it through the season with starters. It's going to be crucial. If they lose anyone on that offensive line, look out, man, because Miller time is going to turn into a spoiled beer, and Zachariah Branch is going to be running for his head, man.
Yeah, Zachariah Branch. I'm excited to see him.
He's dynamic.
He's super dynamic. He's awesome.
He's the one that got away. The one that got away from Brian Hartline.
I think the biggest problem for SC not making the playoff, or why they won't make the playoffs, is their schedule, dude. Like your two of your three out of conference games is LSU and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, you've seen what they did to them last year. That's going to be another tough game. That defense is going to be rocking for Notre Dame. Now they still have some offensive stuff they got to figure out. But yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, LSU, two of your out of conference games. And then you still have to play at Michigan. You're still playing against Wisconsin, at Minnesota, Penn State. You still got your rival.
Nebraska. And the rival.
And you got your back-to-back rivalry games. Oof.
What we learned again from James H. Williams is it's been going back and forth. They've been 6-6 the last 12 years, and the away team has always won. So the crosstown rival, home field advantage doesn't mean shit, obviously. So we'll see if they can break that trend and get a win at UCLA.
Now, we'll learn a lot about USC opening weekend, Sunday night, when they play.
Man, that's going to be so
LSU,
much fun.
Man. And those teams are very mirror of each other, so it's going to be interesting to see how those two improve both on defense when they play each other. So,
and both got a new defensive coordinator. They just stuck it from someone in their conference. I mean, how do you feel about that? You know, the rival coach moving on over. I mean, I know how it feels. But
I know you know how it feels because you had it just happen with Ohio State with Tony Alford, and then obviously UCLA losing Lynn to USC. Man, like I don't understand how that happens, man. Like It's like, how can you be a coach at a team and be like, yo, we hate those guys. We hate those guys. We hate those guys. And then in the offseason, you bounce to them. It's just like, oh, that ain't a good look, man. Now, if there's like some coaching in between, like coaching changes, like you went to another school and then went there, I see it. But, man, jumping straight over, I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like it, man. I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but it's the way it is.
It is. But, yeah, for them to get in, obviously, SC has to fix their defense issues, and they have to run the out-of-conference games because I think in conference it's going to be hard for them to have just 2 losses, let alone out-of-conference. So, like, they got to take care of some business. It's going to be really hard with that schedule. That's why I don't think they're likely to get in. But if they win some of those games against those really good teams, they probably punch their ticket.
You want to give the Dogs some loves and get back to this lower tier?
Yeah, let's give the Dogs some loves, man. Like, Dog TV, baby. Let's do it, man. Play them up. Play them up.
You got this.
On the College Football Dogs website, you'll find a main page that features some of our biggest and newest stories. Our conference pages for content related to your favorite team's conference. Our team store, where we have products that are available all year long, as well as gear available for a limited time only. Our podcast page, where you can see when one of the 12-plus College Football Dogs podcasts is streaming live on social media. Our subscription page, where you can join our Discord. If you're interested in becoming a contributor at College Football Dogs, email us at info@collegefootballdogs.com. If you enjoy any College Football Dogs content, we really do appreciate any donations you can make by visiting the donate page on our website or scanning the QR code here.
College Football Dogs, for the fans.
Yeah, check out the College Football Dogs, man. You guys will up-to-date information on College football, they got articles coming out. I'm talking hourly, man. New articles for every conference in the Big Ten. They dabble a little bit in the NFL, but they're also hiring. So if you're a sports writer, you want to get into, you got a podcast and you need a company to kind of help you move forward, check them out, man. Check out College Football Dogs for all of your
Better
college
get on them
news.
now.
And if you're trying to get into the world of college sports, check them out.
Hey, Robert Kitchen tried to put something on there, but it came out blank. What's up, man?
Guess he had a lot to say. But like outside shot,
he's a man of few words.
He's on that Deshaun Foster, huh?
Yeah, didn't really know what to say. Just wanted to put something out there.
So these teams we have locked out most likely, but there's an outside, very, very like outside shot for these guys to make the playoffs. And we have Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Rutgers. No secret, Rutgers. Everybody's talking about how easy Rutgers' schedule is. Now, They do have a tough out-of-conference game that I don't think people are thinking is as tough as it really is, because that's Virginia Tech, and we think Virginia Tech is going to be really good. And then Wisconsin, like, we just don't know who they are. You got Tyler Van Dyke. He had kind of off season last year with Miami and didn't play well, but you're hearing all kinds of great things about it in camp, but you always hear great things in camp. And then they were so injury prone last year too that they never really had a chance to kind of run on all their cylinders. And then Minnesota,
they did have some news. Wisconsin did have some news. Every lesbian's best friend is the starting quarterback. Tyler Van Dyke, baby. They named him as the starting quarterback.
Everybody saw that coming, so I guess we didn't really need them to say that. But thanks, Luke.
Hey, he put it out there.
And the other team is Mr. Row Your Boat himself and his Golden Gophers. I wonder if he's got any more flex coins this year. And Beve has bounced out on me. He said, see you later. He'll be back. But yeah, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Minnesota, they have an outside shot. Wisconsin, obviously, like I said, they need to run. They got to do good with their schedule. The schedule is manageable. Rutgers' schedule is manageable, but obviously they're less talented than the teams above them. So, Beef, tell me why you think Minnesota has an outside but likely locked out chance to make the playoffs.
They're returning their entire offensive line. They got a transfer quarterback, Max Brosner, fifth-year player. Last year he was in the FCS. He led the FCS in passing, the big dick of the SCS, 3,459 yards while completing 64% of his passes, 29 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. The Gophers, they might not be a popular pick, but with returning production all over, somewhere, I think it was 71% returning production, and one of the best big offensive tackles in all of college football. So you could pick them. It's just they kind of have that revolving yearly thing where it's a developmental program, right? So it has to be hitting on the right year, and this is one of the right years to hit. We'll see. North Carolina, we got to see what they do.
Yeah, they got to win that one out the gates, man. Like, they have to beat North Carolina. They have to win that game because you're talking about playing Iowa, at Michigan, USC, at UCLA in a 4-game stretch. Like, that's going to be rough, and then you're going to end the season.
They don't have an easy schedule, yeah.
No, then you're at Rutgers versus Penn State at home, and then at Wisconsin. Like, you have 2 stretches of games there that are likely going to make sure that you're not in the playoffs.
They did avoid Oregon. They avoided Ohio State. They got Michigan and
they got Iowa,
Penn State,
and
Iowa. Iowa. Yeah. So I mean, it's not quite Rutgers easy, but it's close.
I don't even think it's that close. Like Iowa, Michigan,
yeah,
Penn State. Like, you still got some of the big boys out of there.
They got 3 of the big boys.
And then we'll talk Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got that 68% winning production, and Vegas has them at 6.5 over and under. So there's something Vegas sees that says there's no way. And we agree. Like, there's, they're playing at Nebraska. They're playing at Iowa. They got Penn State at home. They got to play at Rutgers. And then obviously Bama's coming to town. Like,
yeah.
What?
Watch out.
Like,
when does that happen?
The reason I say that they have an outside shot, they're mostly like they're locked out most likely, but they have an outside shot is because if they somehow pull an upset and beat Bama and then only lose 2 of the conference games, that's how they can surprise and get in. Because if they have that Bama resume.
That stretch there at the end is awful. Penn State, Iowa, Oregon, Nebraska may be a great team like we talked about, and then Minnesota has a shot.
And then the rival, the Golden Gophers, man. So, but if they can somehow pull the upset and beat Bama, and then somehow only lose 2 conference games, they have a shot to get in. But that's to say, only have to not lose 2 games against.
So let's say they lose to Bama. Do they have to run the table to get in? They don't have to.
No, they don't have to run the table, obviously.
So they could be 10-2 and getting in. You think?
Yeah, I think 10-2. If you have Bama 10-2, and let's say you have wins against Minnesota, Nebraska, Oregon, like there's just enough meat that like if you only lose, like if you beat Bama and you lose the Oregon and Penn State and you're 10-2, like the Bama win's probably going to get you in.
No, let's say they lose to Bama. Let's chalk up that as a loss.
So they lose to Bama. Okay. So same thing. Like if you lose to Bama, then maybe you can, lose the Oregon and maybe you beat Penn State. But
is Penn State and Iowa going to be enough?
I think so. Like I think if they beat Penn State and Iowa and they only have 2 losses to say Oregon and Alabama, then I would say that's definitely a good enough resume to get in.
Fucking homer.
It's not a homer. That's 10-2. That's 10-2 with some good wins, man. Like I don't think that's too far out there. Like we have Iowa as a playoff team.
I mean, there's gonna be talk.
Penn State's we're high on Penn State.
All right, there's gonna be talk though. There's gonna be talk at 10-2.
But they're not going to go 10-2. But if they did, that's how they can make their way in.
Anything can happen with Fickle.
Yes.
I mean, I do believe he's a rebuilding coach. It takes him a little while to get his pieces in place, like it did at Cincinnati. But he got them to the playoffs. I believe that was year 4. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I can't recall definitely.
Yeah, he's a capable coach. He might need more time. Wisconsin's a development school. He's a development coach.
But they recruited good. Top 25
they have been,
in the nation.
like that's one thing Luke Fickle has changed is they have actually made some noise in recruiting, and I'm so excited about that, man. And they're going to have some great running backs, but yet now they actually have a
got Chaz Malusi back. Yeah, and I think they have like the second or third rated offensive line in the Big Ten still.
Mm-hmm. And decent returning production too. So I mean, it's not like world breaking returning production, but they're at 68%. So it's not bad.
Yeah,
at all.
68% is not bad.
And then last but not least, or maybe least, Rutgers. Rutgers has the most manageable Big Ten schedule ever. I don't think everybody's ever going to get this nice of a schedule in the Big Ten. Greg Schiano has to take advantage of it. I just don't think they're going to take advantage of it enough to make the playoffs.
Dude, not playing Iowa, all right? Not playing Oregon, not playing Penn State, not playing Michigan. What the hell are they doing, man?
Why they escaped everybody, man.
Why? Why would you have that schedule? Like, how do you go through and divvy out the schedules? Whoever's in charge of scheduling in the Big Ten needs to take a break.
All I know is if they beat Virginia Tech and they beat Nebraska, watch out.
Like if they get into this Big Ten championship game, even undefeated, they don't have any quality wins, really.
No.
I mean, as of right now, they have no quality wins.
That's the problem, right? Like they could be
USC's rated, but they probably won't be by that time. Yeah. Nebraska may be good. Virginia Tech, I think, will be good. So, maybe they have a chance to redeem themselves with an undefeated schedule. But
they have to go undefeated to have a chance to make the playoffs. Because if they lose the conference game,
what if the conference championship? If they get into the conference championship and win that,
lose though, there's no meat on.
But if they lose, yeah,
I think they're still likely to be out. So
which is gonna make the Big Ten championship game be shit again. I mean, that's the whole reason they changed this Big Ten.
Like even if they win a shit ton of games, if they're 10-2, they're not in. If they're 11-1, they might not be in. Like that's how weak their schedule is. So they have to do perfection. Like they might make it in 11-1, but 10-2, they're absolutely not making it. Not with this schedule.
But
it's not.
But if they go 9-3, that's a great year, man.
Yeah, absolutely great year for them, and it's possible. I think 8-4, 9-3 is what you're looking at, man. I think Virginia Tech is one that's a coin flip. I think
you didn't even mention your man at quarterback or that running back.
Oh man,
Kyle Monagai.
Man, my guy, Monagai. Man, I love that guy.
You just
he's going to be the reason. He's going to be the reason they're 9-3 and this schedule. That dude's like not to take away from him because of how easy their schedule is. That guy is awesome running back, Big Ten leading rusher last year. They can play ball too, so don't get it wrong. They have an easy schedule and they can play ball, and they're a better Rutgers team than most Big Ten fans are used to.
For sure, and they have a guy under center, Callie Lickamayanus.
Old
the
Callie.
Greek freak.
Oh, the Greek freak.
Manus.
The Greek freak ass liquor.
Gotta love it. All right. Well,
All
we
right,
got through it.
We got through it. So let's go. We got to go back to
the Final Four.
Final Four. We got to make it quick. We're already running long, man. We're running
Running
long.
long.
All right, man. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you're in. Go.
All right. So my Final Four was Georgia versus Oregon and Ohio State versus Ole Miss. And these games are going to be so fun because you have Dan Lanning coming from
Georgia,
pretty much Georgia, right? And then you got Lane Kiffin, and he was mouthing off about Ohio State in the offseason about them buying players, even though they killed it in the portal too. So I think there's going to be so much intrigue, and I think Lane Kiffin and Ryan Day are like polar opposites. So I think that game would be a lot of hype and electric behind those two coaches. And then Dan Lanning against his protege, the opposite of what I said.
Just think what I said, but reverse it.
Yes, but Smart and Lanning, obviously. Lanning is his protege, Smart. And then, obviously, Oregon and Georgia. Like, Oregon has wanted another slap at Georgia since Georgia embarrassed them a couple years ago. And, And then, obviously, when you get to go against your old coach, man, fireworks all the way around in these two games. For me, I think Georgia is still too good for Oregon. I think this game would be super good, really entertaining. I think the quarterback battle, I think where it would slip is the defensive line for Oregon will cost them this game, and Georgia wins by 3 to 7 points. And then I think
Uiagalelei doesn't get in there. He doesn't get after Beck.
No. I think they're going to struggle. I mean, he'll get in there. Don't get me wrong, but I think that offensive line is going to be too good for that defensive line overall.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Ole Miss,
I'm with you, man. Ours is the same. Our Final Four is the same. So I got Georgia too, man. Carson Beck's too much. Smart's too much. The whole Georgia team, all them dogs, they're going to get there.
And then I got Ole Miss and Ohio State. Like I said, I think these rosters are really similar, except for I think Ohio State's roster is just a bit more talented. I think Dart is probably a better quarterback than Howard, so that'd be the one advantage that you would probably give Ole Miss, but I don't think it's going to be light years better. I think obviously the running back room at Ohio State I think will be better. I think wide receivers will be better. I think Ole Miss is right there, but they're just a couple of steps behind on every level.
And then Quishon Junkins against his old team where he transferred
exactly.
from.
There's
That's
going to be
the
so
other
much
thing, man.
intrigue in that game.
Fireworks.
So I think Ohio State gets it done, mostly because their defense is just going to be so much better than Ole Miss's defense. And then
the other thing that we need to bring into limelight with this is the extended amount of games, right? So you're going to have that quality depth that some of these teams have, like Georgia, like Ohio State, because of the continuous recruiting for years. Like Oregon's right there on that, kind of almost on the cusp, and I think Ole Miss is there too, but they don't quite have the amount of depth that Georgia and Ohio State have just yet. Like, give it another year or two, and I think that both those teams will probably be manageable, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think Ole Miss is thirsty to turn their football program into a powerhouse, which is crazy to think of. Like Ole Miss, like Ole Miss is always they're always like a decent team in the SEC, but I think they're on the verge of being a consistent playoff contender out of the SEC because I think the university is back in the football program like you've never seen
until they lose Dart after this year. When they lose Dart, start over again.
They might hit the portal again, man.
Maybe they should.
But either way, Ohio State plays Georgia in the national championship game, and I think you're going to get a Dogs national championship. I think they take down the Buckeyes. I think it's going to be I think this game is going to be a grinder, man. Like, this game is just going to be, you're just going to see hits all over the field. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, but I think Georgia and Beck is the reason why they get it done. And I think you're going to have a similar game that you saw last time between Ohio State and Georgia, and it's going to come down to a missed field goal maybe.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, but man, no way. Man, Ohio State fans can't take this again. They can't take a game getting on the cusp and losing it again. Ooh, buddy, that would be just heartbreaking. Is it going to come down to it like a phantom flag or some controversial call? Because in Ohio State games, in national titles, it always does, right? Or big games in the playoffs, it always does. There was Miami, there was Clemson. Always something for people to call us cry eyes or whatever. And then us, Ohio State fans are really intense. And they're going to be a lot more intense when they lose by field goal.
Yeah.
I'm going with our model, and I'm gonna agree with you, man. Like from the Final Four on, we're all in agreement that the one place that I'm gonna continue to argue with you until this football season starts and we have it is those Cowboys, baby. Those Cowboys are in, man.
Yeah, like Georgia and Ohio State are very
Lock it
similar
up now.
teams this year, talent-wise, but I think the two areas where Georgia dog walks them, pun intended, is the offensive line and quarterback. I think that is going to be the massive difference between Ohio State and Georgia this game. Well, I would say massive difference. It's going to tip the scale into the Dogs' favor.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State will have an advantage on that defensive line. The whole defense really is going to be better than Georgia's.
I don't know.
And that's what's going to be interesting.
I think linebacker might be. I think Georgia might be a little bit closer or a little bit ahead in linebackers. I think Ohio State's linebackers are going to be damn good, but I think that's the one spot on defense. But I do agree that Ohio State's defensive line will be better, and I do believe the secondary is going to be better. But I will.
That whole defense is.
I will say the linebackers will probably be a bit better for Georgia.
I think you're going to see big things from Sonny Styles, and he's going to be better than everyone.
I think Sonny's going to be. That dude is a freak, man.
He's a freak. I'm telling you, he is Taylor Mays reincarnated.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what? We don't need you there at safety. We're going to move you down.
But yeah, I can't wait to watch that game. I think they're very similar teams, but I feel like offensive line and back at quarterback is going to be.
All right. If you had to pick one team before we get out of here, if you had to pick one other team to be in there that's not in your Final Four, who's it going to be?
If there was somebody else who's going to make the Final Four, I would say it'll probably be Bama beats Ohio State, makes it into the Final Four.
Very good. Very good.
What about you?
I was waiting. I was wondering if you're ever going to ask me. Come on, man. I was like that little girl. Like, you ever going to ask me out? Come on. I'm waiting. The Cowboys, baby. I'm taking the Cowboys. If they're my dark horse to make it to the Final Four.
Oh, man, you should have went with Texas if you're going to do something different than me.
I can't, man. The Cowboys is what it's at, man. 85% returning production. They got a quarterback coming back that's seventh year. They got a running back that's going to win the Heisman. They got all of their whole teams coming back. They went 10-4 last year. They went to the Big 12 championship game. Lost to Texas.
You heard it here. Cowboys butts, swell, Beeves nuts.
How did you come up with that, man? On the fly. You wrote that down ahead of time, didn't you?
I sure did.
All right, let's get out of here, man. We got to go.
All right, man. Thanks again, Big Ten backers. Appreciate you tuning in for the show. Don't forget to tell a friend about us, man. Get some of your friends to kind of watch. And then, hey, man, we are 1 week away from week 0. It's time to get pumping and ready to go for college football, baby. Get us on out of here.
Here we go. Thank you, Big Ten backers. Thanks for coming. Hit us up on any of the social medias. Follow us. Hit that alert on YouTube. Tell your friends, like you said, let them know we're here.